Perhaps the most chaotic timeline the Persephone Foundation has yet discovered, this timeline was originally just another one of those dullest dishwasher timelines where the only divergence is some kid ordering chocolate ice cream instead of vanilla, or something equally inconsequential. However, one day we noticed massive chronal fluctuations coming from its coordinates. When we investigated the source, we found a massively altered timeline where Adolf Hitler just disappeared in 1924 after being released from Landsberg prison. As a result, Joseph Stalin opportunistically invaded Europe in 1949, hoping to establish a union that stretched from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The chronal fluctuations must have also warped the physical laws of this timeline, for when the Soviets invaded, they used twin-barrel tanks, weaponized Tesla coils, and other such weapons that would be impossible according to conventional physics. While his endeavor met with initial success, the democratic nations of Europe rallied together with their own wonder weapons, such as mass cloaking devices and teleportation machines, and turned back the tide. The victorious Allies placed a puppet premier by the name of Alexander Romanov in the Kremlin. The puppet would cut his strings in 1972, invading the United States, which had grown, as an OTL, to become the leader of this timeline's liberal democratic nations. This war went much like the last one, with the Soviets seizing the initiative and winning a string of early battles before the Allies stopped and reversed the communist gains, ultimately invading Moscow and capturing Romanov to bring the war to an end. However, the Allies were unable to capture Romanov's chief advisor, a man only known as Yuri. Yuri had his own plan for world domination, having secretly built a series of mass mind control devices known as psychic dominators in strategic locations all over the world. By the time anyone in a position to stop him knew about the dominators, it was too little too late, as the dominators activated, bringing the entire world under Yuri's dictatorial control. While this new timeline was certainly interesting, if bleak, it wasn't long before a second wave of chronal functions rewrote this timeline again. This time, the psychic dominator on Alcatraz Island was destroyed before it could be completed. This dealt Yuri's plans a blow that he couldn't recover from, and he was soon defeated once and for all. Soon, another massive chronal disruption would occur. This time, it was Albert Einstein that disappeared, vanishing completely from this timeline's records after the Munich Physics Conference in 1927. Stalin still started World War II in 1949 and was still thwarted, but this time he was succeeded by Anthony Cheredenko, who, in 1965, would launch World War III by invading Europe a second time. However, just as the Soviets were mopping up the last traces of French resistance, the Japanese Empire of the Rising Sun, having secretly built an incredibly advanced military, invaded the Soviet Union's far eastern territories. We couldn't determine the winner of this expanded war before another chronal disturbance happened and the timeline was, once again, rewritten. We were unable to pin down the exact cause for this rewrite, but its effect was primarily to distribute the global balance of power. Where the globe was previously divided among 3 powers, this new version had global power split between 8 major factions. To top it all off, this timeline would get rewritten one more time, courtesy of an extra chronal group known as Grupo de Amigos del Futuro. Their altercations divided the global power among 16 major powers. The politics aren't the only thing about this timeline to become increasingly warped. The chronal functions also seem to be causing laws of physics to break down. At the first rewrite, the Soviets were building iron curtain devices that provided their vehicles with temporary invincibility, and the Allies were hiding behind gaps in space-time. At the second rewrite, bioreactors and actual flying saucers were seen on the battlefield. At the third rewrite, the Soviet nukes were swapped out for missiles that generated vacuum singularities. The Allies were using helicopters armed with freeze rays and shrink rays, and the Japanese Empire went into battle armed with transforming mecha and a psionic schoolgirl. The fourth and fifth rewrites have only made things crazier. Thanks to numerous sleeper agents embedded in all relevant actors, the Persephone Foundation has gathered enormous amounts of data. In future installments, we will share what we have learned.